this episode of the Carolina Sports Guy, we're going to look at that Carolina Panthers 53-man. It's a early 2-month ahead of time projection before training camp starts. We're going to look at the 53-man roster. Going to go ahead and do an early prediction. Remember, very liquid. Hello, YouTube friends and family. It's another episode of the Carolina Sports Guy. Today, we're going to be looking at that early 53-man roster for the Carolina Panthers, specifically looking at those on offense. Like I stated before in another episode with the defense, normally you take the long snapper, the punter, and a kicker. You normally only keep one of each 9% of the time. That leaves you 50 positions on the roster. 25 offense normally, 25 defense. Not always, but 90 to 95% of the time, that's the way it is. So we're going to look at this early roster. Now, if you're not subscribed to this channel, please, it doesn't cost anything, subscribe to get more content like today. Dealing with the Panthers, the Hurricanes, Charlotte Hornets, anything else sports-wise in the Carolinas professionally, and even college. Hit the like button. Give me some comments. Let me know what other kind of content you want to see. Let me know what you didn't like about this episode. As well, hit that notification, the bell icon, to let you know when I'm going to come out with some more content, just like today's video. All right, I want to kind of go back and look. Carolina Sports Guy here, Uncle Chucky wants to look back at last year, 2020. The breakdown of the 25 offensive players, I say 26, that Matt Rule kept his first year. He did keep one kicker, and he kept a long snapper. Now we take those two guys out, then we'll get down to the 25 guys on the roster. 9 offensive linemen, 7 wide receivers, 4 running backs, which one of those was a fullback, 2 tight ends only, 3 quarterbacks. Now how did that compare to the year before Ron Rivera's last in 2019? Ron as well kept 3 quarterbacks. He kept 3 tight ends, however, 4 running backs, and that's including Alex Armand, who was a fullback. Kept 6 wide receivers, and there was a difference instead of 7 like Rule kept. 9 offensive linemen, of course a long snapper, and a kicker. So this year, how do I see the projection going? I think we're going to keep 3 quarterbacks this year. Matt Rule. Sam Darnold's definitely going to be starter day 1. We've got rid of Bridgewater. I think Darnold's not going to be perfect. He's going to make mistakes, but I think he's going to bring us some things that Teddy Bridgewater couldn't. Also, he's probably going to make a few errors and mistakes. If he was perfect, the Jets would have never got rid of him, remember. I think our number 2 quarterback is going to be P.J. Walker. I think he outdistanced himself from Will Grier last year, and I just feel like P.J. Walker is going to be our second-string quarterback. He is a Rule guy because he played at Temple. But the 3rd quarterback on this roster I see is Tommy Stevens. Tommy Stevens is versatile. He's like Taysom Hill who plays for the Saints. This is a guy, I'm not saying he can play fullback, but he can run the ball. He can play, block out the backfield, be a fullback. Maybe no tight end like Taysom Hill, but this is an athletic guy who kind of gives you a little bit more on the field than Will Grier. I think Grier's going to make his final exit. He'd really have to knock people's socks off, or somebody between Walker and Tommy Stevens would have to be injured to probably keep Will Grier on this roster. Now, unlike last year, I think tight end wise, we're keeping 3. Dan Arnold, we brought him in from the Arizona Cardinals. He's going to be an offensive threat. I think he's going to be the best tight end we've had since Greg Olsen. He's going to come in. I'm not saying he's going to be Greg Olsen because he's not, but I think he's going to be a pretty good pass-catching tight end, a big target. Tommy Tremble, kind of frowned on the pick at first where we drafted him in the 3rd round out of Notre Dame. But there's a guy that can play fullback, so you're getting rid of Arma. He basically is kind of taking Manhurst's place. So you're getting 2 for 1. You get rid of Manhurst and Arma and keep Tommy Tremble, and it actually opens up roster spots elsewhere. This is a guy that can play tight end, probably catch the ball. He's going to block at fullback. He can play special teams. He's going to be a fan favorite, and I think people are just going to really fall in love with Tommy Tremble. Now, the 3rd tight end is up for debate. Some people are probably going to tell me he's not going to make the roster. 2 months from now, I might say he might be cut and might not be here. And that's Ian Thomas. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt right now over guys like Colin Thompson I think it's Stevenson or somebody we brought in from the Seahawks that Scott Fitter brought in. I think Thomas will make the team because of his athletic ability. But I would not be surprised, since it is a Rivera and Hurney pick, that Ian Thomas isn't cut. I'm keeping him on the roster at this time because he played there last year, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Running backs, I think we keep 3. We're going to look at definitely Christian McCaffrey, especially if he stays healthy. You don't really need but somebody to fill in at the end of games in case he gets nicked up, or just give him a breather. But you have to have a little bit of depth. And I think we've got good depth now that Chuba Hubbard, the Oklahoma State running back we got in the 4th round, I think he's going to really be the best second-string running back we've had in a while. I know a couple of years ago we brought in Jordan Scarlett from Florida in the 5th round that Ron Rivera and Ernie drafted. He didn't pan out. After 1 year, he was gone. Now, the 3rd running back is really up for debate because you've got guys like Rodney Smith and Bonifant. I think Trenton Keenan's going to be the one who's going to be 3rd running back. It's apples and oranges, folks. Really, between Trenton Cannon and me and Rodney Smith, it can go either way. I pick Cannon. I just think he's got an edge. I don't think Bonifant's going to make it, but if one of these 2 guys slide, Cannon or Smith, or to get injured, and Bonifant does the part and exceeds and does well, he could be the 3rd guy sticking on this roster at running back. But right now, I'm sticking with Trenton Cannon. Wide receivers, we had 7 last year. I'm going with 6 this year. Robbie Anderson, of course, and it could be his last year in Carolina. We drafted 2. Terrace Marshall Jr. from LSU. I think we're going to bring him along slowly, but I think this guy's going to be a serious threat and be a good wide receiver. We just have to make sure we don't re-aggravate some injuries he had. He dropped further in the draft than people thought, and we really picked up this guy. If he does well, we're going to be doing good. DJ Moore, of course. I think he's our best receiver. We're going to see how he does. We're going to have to, don't sign him long term after this year. We're going to have to franchise tag him, but I definitely think we've got to keep DJ Moore. David Moore coming over from Seattle. This is a guy Scott Fritter knew of. I think he's, a little bit under the radar of a Curtis Samuel we lost, but between him and Terrace Marshall Jr., I think those 2 guys can fill the role very well. Then we picked up Shi Smith, the wide receiver from South Carolina, double dipping in the draft at wide receiver. The thing I like about Shi Smith is not only been able to catch the ball, here's a guy we can put in the slot, but as a receiver, also punt returns and kickoff returns. Very valuable asset. And this is a guy that's really, he's going to, between special teams, play slot receiver, out wide receiver, kick return, punt return. Here's a guy he's taking up a couple of roster spots with 1 player. That's the valuable thing about double dipping and who we got in this draft. And get him in the 6th round was a steal, folks. Now, the last receiver here, I got Brandon Zylstra. Scored 1 touchdown last year against the Washington football team. It was a special teams touchdown. But Zylstra's a locker room guy because he can play special teams, and he pretty much is a heady guy. I think he'll be the 6th receiver on the team. But I would not be surprised if someone like Omar Bayless did bounce him off the roster, or someone else maybe. We just never know. And it could go that route. Now, I've got 6 offensive guards / centers. Matt Paradis is really the starting center. Could be a last year for him. We got David Moore, the undrafted free agent from Grambling State. A lot of people love this guy. Hey, I'd have been ecstatic if we got this guy in the 5th round, even the 6th. We had to pick at 7th. I was mad we didn't draft him. We got him as an undrafted free agent. It's going to work very well, and he can also play center. So here's a guy who can play guard and center. If he can't take over the center, doesn't look well, we keep Paradis, maybe find one next year. But this is a guy definitely can stick at guard for right now and be fine. Pat Elflein, Minnesota Vikings, a free agent we got. He could be a solid piece, maybe start, but at least be a solid contributor backup. Dennis Taylor, we drafted a couple of years ago. Last year, Ron Rivera and Hurney were here. Got him from South Carolina playing offensive guard. Kind of started as a tackle. I think he showed promise at guard. Deontay Brown, the 6th round pick, the big man from Alabama. I definitely think he's going to start at guard. He's a big man. I think he just got to worry about his weight, his athletic ability. Can he get down second level and make plays blocking? But he's going to be a hard man to move, and I think he's going to open up holes for McCaffrey, especially on those 4th and 1 and 3rd and goals from the 1 or 2. I think McCaffrey running by him, you're not going to move this guy. So that's going to help. And then John Miller. And John Miller, one of those no-name guys that came in last year, got a roster spot, played in some games, bounced around the roster. I think he's going to make this roster again. Now, I got 4 offensive tackles, guys. Taylor Moton, who we got as a franchise tag, I think he's definitely going to make the squad. Trent Scott. And Trent Scott is from Grambling. He recommended David Moore when the coaches went to the Senior Bowl this past year. And Trent Scott played well filling in as a tackle. Not starting material, but can fill in if you've got injuries or whatever. Cam Irving, originally coming out of Boston College, was going to be a high draft pick. I know he played last for the Dallas Cowboys. Can he play offensive tackle, especially left tackle? Yes. Does he need to start or play there long term? No. But he could be a valuable backup piece and start a few games for us. Now, 3rd round pick Brady Christensen that we got from BYU. Was he a left tackle? We don't know. Maybe we move Moton over left and let him play right tackle. Maybe he plays guard. But I think Brady Christensen has enough athletic ability. He's going to stick on this line. I've got him listed as an offensive tackle right now. Now, one offensive lineman I don't have on the list, I don't even know if I could put him on a practice squad because of his eligibility, is Greg Little. I think the writing on the wall for Greg Little, he's done. If he can't play tackle, which we love him to, where he was originally drafted and Hunting gave up a 3rd round pick, so valuable, to Seattle to move up 10 spots. Very, very critical that if he doesn't make tackle this year, can't play guard, I think he's gone. Kicker, Joey Sly, I don't know if he got any competition for him. If he doesn't do well, we might have to bring in another kicker. But right now, I think his spot's safe as long as he can kick and improve from what he did last year. A long snapper. It's going to be interesting here. We drafted Thomas Fletcher in the 6th round from Alabama. You don't draft a long snapper unless he's going to make the team. He's going to have to be injured or he's going to have to perform terrible for J.J. Jensen to keep his place. J.J. Jensen, the thing about him, is not going to make this roster unless Fletcher gets hurt. And J.J. Jensen needed to play this whole year and 8 or 9 games next year, and he would have been the all-time leading games played guy for the Carolina Panthers in their history. I just don't see it. He's not a rule guy, and he's getting along in the tooth at about 35 years old. Now, as far as practice squad goes, I've got 2 running backs, Rodney Smith, Reggie Bonifant. And I'm not even sure if Bonifan's eligible. I just put him on there because, well, I think he is a valuable player. We're just kind of getting deep in the running back position. Tight end, Chris Thompson. Hey, I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Thompson didn't dump Ian Thomas off the roster and take it. He scored a touchdown last year. If we can get this on a practice squad, though, and still keep Ian Thomas, it might happen. Omar Bayless. See him cracking the roster at the end, taking Ziltra's spot. But Omar Bayless coming off an injury last year, sparking, looking good. If he can look good this year, if he doesn't make the roster, which we're deep at, I definitely think we can put him on the practice squad one more year. And I had to pick one more guy, guys. And I had to take an offensive lineman. So I picked Sam Tecklenburg, the center. Now, do I think he'll make it? I don't know. I just kind of figured like we needed a backup center, a guy who might be able to stick on a practice squad in case something did happen to Paradis, or we need to call somebody up as a backup. All right, what do you guys think? Hit subscribe button. Give me some comments. Remember, subscribe, folks. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Hit that like button. Pound the like button. And ring that bell notification so you can be notified of more content like this in future videos. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you liked about this 53-man breakdown roster early edition of the offense. Check out my other video about the defense. And we'll see you next time on the Carolina Sports Guy.